Picture this. It's 6 a.m., your alarm goes off, you reach for your phone, open your inbox, and right there, before your morning coffee's even brewing, is another automated job rejection. You tweak your resume, rewrite your cover letter, and hit send again. Hundreds of applications, hundreds of auto-generated, we were impressed, but emails. At first, you probably blame yourself, right? But what if the problem isn't you at all? What if the system is actually filtering you out before anyone even sees your name? Well, let's dive into this, because in today's Explainer, we're uncovering a pretty brutal modern reality. Landing your first job isn't just hard right now, it's fundamentally broken. We are literally looking at the death of the entry-level job. Millions of people are opening rejection after rejection and realizing it's not about their education or their age or even their desired pay. I saw this quote from a deeply frustrated job seeker on Reddit, and they just asked, "What happened to growing into your role?" And honestly, that brilliant quote perfectly captures the death of upward economic mobility. Without the ability to learn and grow within a company, we've got millions of young people stuck at the absolute bottom of the corporate ladder, staring up at rungs that have literally been sawed off. So the absolutely crucial question we have to ask is this: why exactly is landing your first job fundamentally broken today? To answer that, we're going to play digital coroners for a bit. We're going to autopsy the entry-level job market and uncover the systemic corporate culprits that have made that bottom rung completely vanish. And to start our investigation, we have to look at the most agonizing hurdle facing modern applicants.
Let's move straight to Section 1 and see how this first barrier builds up. We call this the experience paradox.
It is a classic catch-22. Entry-level, by definition, is not mid-level, right? Yet companies want someone highly experienced for a beginner role, while simultaneously refusing to give anyone a chance to actually get that experience. And the data backing this up is just staggering. Right now in the US, around 60% of entry-level job offers in fields like IT, marketing, and finance, they demand years of experience up front. Over in the UK, a recent study of nearly 49,000 advertisements for popular entry-level jobs found that over 51% wanted an average of 2.7 years of prior experience for an entry-level job.
We're witnessing a massive, fundamental cultural shift inside corporations. Just contrast the old normal with the new normal. 20 years ago, economic mobility actually made sense. Companies hired for potential. They trained you. Today, hiring managers and the algorithm systems they use to screen you are incredibly risk-averse. They aren't thinking about training anymore. They're predicting viability. They want plug-and-play workers who can, as recruiters absolutely love to say, hit the ground running. Young, untrained applicants are viewed as high-risk investments, and because of that, the first rung of the employment ladder is effectively disappearing.
So how do you bypass this? Internships. But look at this number, 50%. Back in the 1980s, only 3% of Americans did internships. Today, nearly 50% do. And we are talking about students interning for months, sometimes taking on 2 or 3 different unpaid or severely underpaid positions just to prove they aren't a risk. Hiring managers heavily rely on internships over education or even interviews to predict performance. But let's be real, who can afford to work for free? This creates an incredibly unethical barrier that locks out amazing talent simply because they don't have a financial safety net. And the craziest part? Even with an internship, there's no guarantee anymore, because the jobs themselves are vanishing.
Which brings us to the first major structural shift actively destroying local entry-level jobs. Let's dig into Section 2, the outsourcing squeeze. If you owned a business, the raw math is, well, it's pretty tempting. Why hire a local graduate for $36,000 to $66,000 a year when you can outsource that exact same work to a highly experienced professional overseas for a fraction of the cost? With 66% of U.S. companies outsourcing, roughly 300,000 local jobs just vanish every single year. These remote workers are skilled, they're hardworking, low maintenance, and they help companies achieve 24-hour productivity without being covered by local employment laws. It is symbiotic perfection for the boardroom, but absolutely devastating for local graduates.
You see, the power dynamic has shifted violently back to corporations. Remember back in 2023 when quiet quitting peaked? Employees wanted flexibility in a time of plenty. Big tech responded by issuing strict return-to-office mandates. Naturally, 46% of aggrieved corporate staff threatened to quit. But here is the massive twist in all of this. Surveys later revealed that 53% of companies secretly hoped their staff would leave. This tactic is known as quiet firing. They didn't need the staff anymore, but they didn't want the hassle or bad PR of layoffs. The companies now hold all the cards. They can outsource your job, or, as we are about to see, they can utilize something far,
far cheaper. Now we escalate to the ultimate corporate threat, and the absolute main reason entry-level positions are vanishing at a terrifying speed. Section 3, the AI guillotine. Artificial intelligence is essentially the new golden child at the office. Out of 804 corporate hiring managers surveyed in 2024, a massive 78% said their company expected to reduce the hiring of recent graduates specifically because of AI. While some projected small cuts, others foresaw a massive pipeline squeeze, predicting layoffs and hiring freezes of 30%, 60%, or even up to 70% of their staff. You aren't just competing with other applicants anymore. You are now competing with cheap, reliable, obedient systems that literally never take a day off.
If you think this is just theoretical, consider this staggering number: 600,000. Leaked internal documents accessed by the New York Times revealed that Amazon plans to eliminate or completely avoid hiring for approximately 600,000 roles by 2033. The specific reason? AI. They estimate that about 75% of Amazon's operations will be completely automated, and they're already moving fast. They laid off 27,000 corporate staff in 2023 and another 30,000 last year alone.
And here is exactly why they are doing it. By heavily utilizing AI and automation technologies, Amazon estimates financial savings of around $12.6 billion. That is billion with a B. That is tens of thousands of entry-level and mid-level human jobs washed down the drain of progress purely for the sake of the bottom line. And it's not just Amazon. Mark Zuckerberg is throwing $135 billion at superintelligence while actively axing Meta staff. The massive consulting firm PwC, they plan to cut U.S. entry-level hiring by nearly one-third by 2028. The shift is aggressive, and guys, it's permanent.
So what exactly is on the chopping block right now? Roles like customer service, clerical and admin, basic coding, data entry, even basic architecture and SEO marketing. Basically anything routine, rule-based, digital, and low risk. Now, optimists love to push the augmentation argument. You know, the idea that AI won't replace us, it'll just give us superpowers. But reality paints a much darker picture. Even tech CEOs who once spoke openly about AI's effect on the job market have gone suspiciously quiet lately. When 80% of call center work is projected to be automated by chatbots by 2029, those jobs aren't being augmented. They're just gone.
And the macroeconomic reality totally confirms this. According to the World Economic Forum, in just an 18-month window leading up to March 2026, U.S. entry-level jobs plummeted by a staggering 35%. Anthropic CEO Dario Amodei warned that 50% of entry-level white-collar jobs will be wiped out within the next few years, bringing severe labor market displacement. The cozy human-AI relationship in the workplace looks a lot less like collaboration and a lot more like humans being told to pack up and clean out their desks.
So how is the younger workforce navigating this ruthless corporate landscape? Let's move to Section 4, Hustle Culture and Exodus, and take a look at the societal fallout. Young workers have essentially had to adapt just to survive. A massive 43% of Gen Z workers are now actively participating in the gig economy. Millennials are seeing similar, if not even higher numbers. This precarious so-called hustle culture has morphed into a $1.27 trillion economy in the US alone. But let's be clear, there are very few protections here, absolutely no safety nets, and a constant risk of exploitation. When large corporations declare you surplus to requirements, you end up working 12-hour shifts across multiple apps just to piece together enough to pay rent. Because of this sheer exhaustion, we're witnessing a massive global shift. Young people are deciding that, hey, if they have to hustle without a safety net, they might as well do it where the environment actually serves them best. We are seeing a huge flight to countries like Canada for quality of life, Australia for work-life balance, and places like Vietnam and Thailand for their incredibly low cost of living. Gen Z is fast becoming the most internationally mobile generation in human history. The numbers here are just mind-blowing. In 2023, there were an estimated 18.1 million digital nomads from the US. By 2030, that number is projected to hit 60 million globally. It is a massive brain drain. Over in the UK, media outlets are calling it an outright exodus, with nearly 200,000 young people leaving in just the first half of a single year alone, and a shocking 75% of young Brits considering making the jump. The new American dream for many is simply to leave America. Which brings our explainer to its final chilling point. Let's examine the ultimate goal of modern major corporations in Section 5, the corporate endgame.
If corporations had it their way, their ideal business structure looks exactly like this. Step 1, form a massively profitable billion-dollar firm staffed only by a tight, highly paid board of executives.
Step 2, replace the traditional workforce entirely with a giant server farm of AI agents. Step 3, achieve maximum 24-hour productivity with absolutely minimal human costs. This isn't some dystopian science fiction novel, it is the active, stated future they are building towards right now. The brutal truth of the modern job market is that at the highest levels, they don't need you, and financially speaking, they really don't want you.
Which leaves us with this final, incredibly provocative thought. If the entry-level rung, it's just gone. If human training is seen purely as a financial liability, and if corporations truly don't need people to generate billions in revenue anymore, where do all the jobs go? What happens to an economy where humans are entirely designed out of the loop? It's a question we all need to start asking, and asking loudly, because the algorithms are already here and they aren't taking days off. Thanks for exploring this complex issue with me today. Keep questioning the system and keep learning.